God, I need a cat who doesn't need me.
Yeah, like having a cactus, you know, like some nice low maintenance organisms. What are some other low maintenance organisms one could keep, like a pet?
Bacteria.
Like mold.
Well, that's pretty low maintenance.
In fact, actually, you got to keep an eye out for that. If it's, you know,
you take care of it by letting it fester, and then it takes care of you by killing you. So, you know, that's the ultimate parent-child relationship. It's the ultimate caretaking relationship.
Damn. Yeah.
You know?
But there was that one time where the mold turned out to be the penicillin mold.
Oh, I'm allergic to penicillin, actually.
I am too, but I take like amoxicillin, which is basically the same thing.
Oh.
But
there's so much I don't know.
I mean, well, I don't know.
I just remember that was a thing that I'm apparently allergic to.
Yeah. They have, but there's other antibiotics available to you. Sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I do love old memoirs. You know this.
Yeah.
Errol Flynn talks about getting venereal disease in the time before penicillin.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, injecting mercury into your penis doesn't sound like a good time at all.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
Yep. Hey, Chelsea.
Sorry, my penis hurts. I'm just like trying to.
You're metaphorical. You're like wincing right now.
What do you mean? Yeah, just metaphorical.
I don't know.
Hey, Victoria.
Sorry. Yes. Oh
wait.
Hey.
What? I'm just.
I remember. I got thrown. You know what I need?
What?
Breath of Fresh movie.
Oh, cool. Me too.
Yes.
The show.
That's a movie I like to see.
All right. You're listening to A Breath of Fresh Movie, a podcast where each week I, Victoria Harley,
and me and Chelsea Pope,
we both watch a movie neither one of us has ever seen, and then we talk about it.
Yes.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah, no, it's a good time.
And we may not talk about everything because we're not, the runtime you notice is we try to keep it under an hour.
Yeah, well, like if we're going to talk about everything, then it's like, just watch the movie.
Well, exactly. Like,
and sometimes we do get through a lot of a movie because we get too enthused about it or we want to like tear it apart or whatever.
I'm just saying there are some podcasts that do very good deep
like
dives.
Really deep dives.
And that's not us.
Yeah, it's a bit more just kind of like, I guess if you're curious about something or you just want like a little more feedback on the reaction of something.
Yeah, like our dive, there's some research, but our dive is more like the guy going for like lost jewelry, you know, kind of in the in the shallows.
Yeah.
Not the shallowest
part.
From
the shallows.
What is that called? Skin diving? I don't know. Is that something else? Is that skinny dipping?
I haven't skin diving.
Isn't that a thing? I don't know.
It just sounds like a serial killer's like, you know, my favorite hobbies is skin diving, and then he just puts on someone's skin and goes diving. Yeah,
you might be right. Yeah, I was gonna look it up, but I turned my phone off specifically to focus. So
I have so much respect for you.
No,
I don't think I've ever turned my phone off.
I once got scolded by some phone, kiosk type person. I mean, they knew what they were doing, but basically I was like, wow, my phone, it keeps crashing and won't keep starting. I know that we're way off topic, but she was just like, okay, when was the last time you turned it off? And I was like, I don't think I've ever turned this phone off. She's like, okay, so starting now, let's go ahead and turn it off when we're taking a shower.
Oh my god!
So your phone needs a break. If you can't, they're not meant to just go and go. I was wrong.
I didn't think I would learn anything today.
Well, damn it, you're going to.
That's crazy.
Yes, today's movie is 1996. Drama/comedy. There's some funny moments.
Yeah, it's like, it almost feels sort of like, mockumentary in a way, but not like just sort of,
Our movie today is Irma Vep, which I had no idea until I watched this is not an acronym. What's it called? The mixed up anagram.
Anagram.
It's an anagram.
I was going to say
I know, right? Look at that.
Just any excuse I can say.
That's fun.
Wait, and now I'm saying it wrong too, because is it onomatopoeia or is it automatopoeia? I'm sorry. I'm not. And we can cut all of that.
Write in.
Please.
No, it's fine. Grammarians can write in to abreathoffreshmovie@gmail.com.
All right.
Yeah, so this is directed by Olivier Assayas. I wanted to say Oliver, but that would be very wrong.
Yeah.
Olivier.
And
this is a movie about...
Olivier.
Yeah.
If you never heard it said out loud.
Oh, no.
And you said Olivier?
I literally one time was in a thrift store, found I don't know, some record of, I don't know what it was, but it was read by Laurence Olivier. But it was literally the first time I had encountered that name in print. So of course, out loud, within earshot of plenty of people, I just was like, Lawrence Oliver.
That's funny though.
It's terrible.
I think it's hilarious.
So shameful.
No, but I also loved it's so endearing, the lack of pretension about that in a way,
It was lacking in pretension, I can tell you that.
I didn't know how that one lady on the talk show's name was said. When the first draft of Man Boys for our sketch team.
Oh.
And I think
Joy Behar. You said Joy Behar or something.
I don't know. Wait, no, how do you say it though?
I thought it was Behar, but maybe I'm wrong.
Wait, no, how long is her last name?
Behar.
Yeah.
It's Behar or Behar. No, I don't know now. Oh no.
Behar. I don't remember what I said, but everybody
laughed.
Everybody laughed, and I was like, "Oh no, oh no!"
I know, isn't it the worst? I sent you that video, right? Did I send you the video of that Italian guy? It was this woman who took a video of her Italian husband trying to say the word skyscraper, but he kept saying sky scratchy.
No, I don't think I've seen that.
Okay, I'll have to send this to you.
I'll
have to send it to you. She's like, what? He's like, it's sky scratchy, and basically they piece it together to mean skyscraper. He's like, skyscraper? And she's like, yeah. And then he just goes, oh no. In that moment, he's remembering every time
he said it wrong. That's actually,
it's hysterical.
That's bad.
It made me want to.
Hilarious.
It made me want
to. So relatable.
Yes,
it's so relatable.
His heart was completely out for us to see. It was beautiful.
Yeah, that's so relatable.
Yeah, I fell in love.
So all of that is to say, we'll talk about anything. Yeah, but we won't talk about everything.
Yeah, clearly we'll talk about anything. Thank you for.
Couldn't help myself.
No, it's accurate.
Yeah,
and sometimes we'll talk about another movie that's not this movie, and sometimes. That gets confusing for a listener, I know.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll do better.
Oopsies.
Today's movie, Irma Vep, is about a Hong Kong actress, Maggie Cheung, who's actually playing herself, playing a fictional version of herself. She's cast in France to star in a remake of Les Vampires, a 1915 silent film. But petty intrigues and clashing egos plague the production. And that's pretty much the story.
Yeah, they keep it pretty open-ended because it's not so...
Felt like we got nowhere in a little bit.
Yeah,
at the end there.
And then which funny you should mention that now, because that new version of Irma Vep looks like what more nowhere in-esque than what this is, which feels a bit more grounded. And a bit more satirical,
very satirical,
almost some mockumentary style, but not as broad, say, as Christopher Guest or something, but more just just very silly, open-faced, satirical.
Yeah.
What making modern movies looks like.
It's a comment. It's many comments on filmmaking and also particularly filmmaking in France at this time in the 90s. And, France has this wonderful tradition of the new wave, but it's also something of a tyrannical and a viewpoint of it's the one auteur who is the reason for everything. When we know that films are actually very collaborative and they're seldom perfect,
right.
It's interesting because this is a movie about making movies, which I always love those.
Yeah.
Because, we're all narcissists in our industry. So, but,
it's also fascinating and in a sense, it's almost educational.
Well, and that's the thing, before I ever worked in, the reason I know our jobs is because of movies about movies.
Gives you context and it gives, plants the seed.
So, this is very much in that tradition, but I think it's cool that it is so much there was a lot of improvisation It was shot very quickly, like single takes, apparently. You want to do it again? Too bad. That's it. We're doing one take. Moving on.
Yeah.
He wrote the script in about 10 weeks. And interestingly, I guess he only had enough money. This is such a strange story. And they were like, who is going to give us any money for this? And I guess he had a producer who had some good connection at Canal Plus.
Okay.
And they got basically the bare minimum budget they could get. But they got money. And that's what's dictating a lot of this. I guess it was shot in 16 millimeter, sort of super 16. Almost, so it's I don't know a lot about cameras. I just know that that's very.
It has that vibe.
Yeah,
that very sort of almost like a documentary. It has that vibe. It's a bit more. It feels
it's run and gun.
It feels a little granular at times. Some of the shots are just a bit more. It's that little bit of that.
Absolutely.
It's a very It sets the tone of it feeling a little more stripped. Like it kind of reminded me a little bit of that there's a Woody Allen movie, I think Celebrity or something, that has a little bit of that vibe to it in some of the scenes. Like I don't remember that movie super well, just like camera wise it reminded me of that, where there is this sort of stripped down satirical, but in the way, like literally how it physically looks.
Yeah.
It adds to it. Totally. Like it almost has like a tabloid vibe to it.
And this is jumping ahead slightly, but on that thought, the way this film ends with those treatments, those like visual, the scratchiness, and that was, I guess, something that was taken and inspired from like another film and sort of incorporated into this. Also, it's worth mentioning it was one of the first films to be edited on an Avid system. Again, I know almost nothing about this kind of stuff, but this is getting into a new world of digital things that they could never have done, they can now do. And so they really played in the medium, in the edit. And I just think it deserves a lot of credit for its willingness to explore.
Right.
I think it has such a trust in, honestly, all of its collaborators.
No, I think it's important you bring that up about the way the film is built. Honors the idea that is sort of underlying the point of this movie is that there are all of these different people at play putting a film together, and there's this facade or like this sort of idealism of what a film should look like, which leads to all these different clashing personalities and people erupting at each other or to themselves.
There's a lot of drama.
A lot of drama. It's just there's a lot of ego and a lot of expectation. And
some characters who we barely know, the way they snap at each other, or the way that we see the fallout from like a big argument or blow up, but not the actual. I don't know. There's something about this movie that has to do with like frustrated communication. Yeah,
and the way it manifests into how this film develops or doesn't. Yeah, in certain ways,
which it doesn't really. Right. It's also kind of it's a movie about a movie that falls apart. Yeah. So it's not, don't expect to feel like there's a really fulfilling conclusion. I mean, unless you're really deep into the theory of whatever, which I think this film is not encouraging people to be or do. But it does have a lot in common with New Wave, and just that this director, Assayas, he started as a critic. He wrote for Cahiers du Cinéma, just like Francois Truffaut. He even cast Jean-Pierre Laude to be in this film, and he was in Truffaut's series of films, like The 400 Blows and all those other ones that followed with Antoine Doinel. So I don't know. There's familiar faces and there's references, and even this movie, it made me think a little bit about Day for Night, which is Truffaut's movie about making movies, which is very joyful and fun. And this is a bit darker, or it feels a bit more cynical.
Right. This is much more critical, as opposed to maybe celebratory or occasionally cheeky or whatever.
Totally. This director is interested in the life behind the camera and the relationships, because he was saying a film is a film, but it's also a documentary. If you're intimately involved in its creation, there's a life behind it that and experience on a secondary or maybe primary level, and then the actual product is secondary, or it's equal footing if you're, high up on the creative chain. And I don't know. There's just something really, this movie is very thought-provoking. And I think
it really is. I mean, the more you bring that up, the more it really helps crystallize some of my takeaways about the film beyond what I thought were just more of the individualized experience of Maggie Cheung going through that and getting that perpetual
I want to talk
objectification,
about that too,
which is right. And it turns into this sort of almost reverential you know, the concept film that happens at the end. And it's sort of like, you know, she did have a very clear understanding. Like, she does have a lot of, like, you know, self governance or just self, you know, agency. Possession. And yet throughout this film, it's just like, in spite of her pedigree or prestige and all of that, she's still being treated in this very sort of
she's
pincushiony way, and
being like exoticized, and you know, I mean that's the thing that's so funny. This movie is somewhat about this director who he himself was a new wave. Within the context of the story, you find out the director of this film that she's been asked to be a part of was a new wave director and was very well respected, and you know, is one of these big names, but everyone's kind of admitted through these conversations on set and et cetera, you know, that like, oh, you know, he hasn't made anything good in years and we don't really know why we're making this. It seems kind of false. And then, you know, he explains to Maggie that like, oh, I saw you in this like Hong Kong action film.
And then they play an extended sequence of that.
Yeah, and it's like, and she's just sort of like, okay, sure, you know, that's great. Whatever got me here, it's fine. Like, she's very accepting of a lot of
She does take it really seriously, though. Like, the way she takes the role very seriously, which is sort of the irony. You know, she's watching this thing that seems sort of campy, or that it's meant to be perceived as campy. And this prestigious director being like, right, so I saw this, but then, and then, you know,
well, and the Catwoman reference and the wardrobe,
right, and then like, that happens, and it starts to feel like the parts continually getting depreciated in her mind every time it's getting it's brought to her. And even the way that she gets treated in these like social spaces where people are very nice to her, but then they also turn and speak in a language she doesn't understand about her in front of her, and
the number of
and they don't even realize or even think, they don't think it's rude at all. They're just like, whatever, like she don't know nothing. Like,
more than once she was introduced as, this is Maggie, the Chinese actress, she speaks no French.
Exactly. So then they're just very like, whatever, we're just gonna say whatever we want. Like, there's that loud conversation in the kitchen between Zoe and like her annoying friend. She wants to buy the costume. That means she wants to fuck you, like, kind of thing.
Oh my God, that woman was so frustrating.
Oh, she was so annoying.
And you've got this director.
And Zoe, but also Zoe was being so stupid too. Then.
Zoe was acting
so naive.
She was acting such a fool.
She was she overly earnest, but believable, like very good performance.
Natalie, I don't know if it's Ricard or Ricard or Richard, but she's great as well. That actress, she is my choice for best supporting player.
Sure. I mean, I think it's to that point. I was thinking about that. I'm like, well, she's almost main.
Yeah, almost.
At that point. She's not, she is supporting, but she's so close to main because she's in so much of this movie. She is the most endearing relationship she has.
Yeah.
That Maggie has. But then even then there's that moment when like that annoying friend is asking Maggie like, oh, would you have sex with her? She wants to have sex with you.
She likes girls. She likes latex. Yeah,
which is sad because like Zoe wanted to like keep the boundary, I think, and be respectful. Like, I was thinking about that and I was like, how unfortunate that there was somebody who had like good intentions overall, and then it still got subterfuged or whatever, you know, it still gets fucked up because some other asshole
gets in the way.
It gets in the way. And just like there's a lot of those kinds of moments where people are like, oh, so-and-so was saying this thing about it. It's like just a lot of catty behavior. So-and-so did that. Like, I hate it.
It's my, like, watching this, bleh. I definitely was like, oh God, I used to hate so much of what being on set, just the having to contend with other people. Like, I mean, dude. Bitch Media, actually, their review of this was really interesting. I think it's kind of related to what we're talking about. Assayas issues a corrective, making clear that films are inherently collaborative, rarely utopian, and made by people who are always between projects and constantly negotiating who they are on and off screen. And that constant negotiation, that feeling of always being between projects, that you're always interviewing for the next one, thinking about the next thing.
That's so true.
That is so much the life. True. It is like, and that's like for people who aren't even on screen. Like, I mean, this is such a wonderful window into the experience of being an actress or an actor, but specifically, you know, being a woman. There's so much that she experiences too, also just being Chinese. You know, she is treated like, oh, I don't know that she understands everything I say. It's like Maggie Cheung basically grew up in England. She speaks perfect English. Like, this woman is not a fool. Like,
no, she's like just very kind and like being very just sort of trying to be very humble. I'm professional. Yeah, she's the most professional because everybody else is busting out at the seams every scene.
Well, and that's the funny thing too is Olivier Assayas actually married Maggie Cheung after this movie. That he fell in love with her. He just fell in love with this woman, and so this is,
ain't that special?
It's very special.
Wasn't that special?
But for him, this was a story. It was an idea they were kicking around about like hotel rooms, and I don't know if the whole Les Vampires thing was part of it yet or not.
Yeah.
But basically, once he thought about the idea of Maggie, this Chinese actress in France, that for him was the story. And so references are kind of almost embedded in the movie that you're more important than the character,
Yeah.
and like it's almost, he's almost telling his audience very explicitly what this is really about. And,
Right.
and I think it so masterfully shows like the way she's alienated, the inherent racism of the way people sort of talk to her or being dressed up in this cat suit. But there's something really interesting about that sequence at the end, by the way, was filmed. That was the only part of the movie that was filmed in like 35. And it was done completely silent, I guess. And it's, they're trying to recreate the experience of this old silent film, Les Vampires, which, had this character, Irma Vep, who really was like, this was a film that was made in 1915. To contextualize it, soldiers in France, this would be like first year of the Great War, and maybe you'd see this movie on leave or something. So this woman is wearing essentially like a black cat suit. And this idea, like that, it was this actress Musidora, that's her name. And she was kind of this early star of French cinema. And she wasn't just a star, she also wrote and directed. And she really conceptualized the Irma Vep character.
Yeah.
So really remarkable woman, in her own right in this old film that this sort of film we're watching is referencing and they're trying to remake in the context of the story. And so it has all these layers to it. But if you think about how archetypical a woman clad in tight black, that was kind of not the first, but she was realizing a fantasy in this really interesting way. And like when you look at things like, look at all of the, Emma Peel in Avengers. I'm not talking about the Avengers, but like the British, right?
Right.
All the cat women, every cat woman who wore cats, there's
a lot of accuracy to like being presented with what the Catwoman suit is, because that is what a more modern interpretation of that.
It is.
Like,
and we all love that
character is like,
but even if you think about like superhero costumes that are contemporarily given to women, they tend to, it's kind of like it's very much a body fitting armor,
right?
But it's still body and form and shape and like and dark usually. And I don't know, it's this woman created this incredibly interesting visual archetype that is so much what this movie is kind of like circling at all times. And so that's why I felt the need to like get in.
It's actually like really self-aware, and then even when there's the moments where she's trying to see the director eye to eye about the intention of the film, it's like I think they do ultimately see what the movie's trying to say and what she has to bring to that. There's like I don't know, I guess there was like a skosh of optimism I had towards that, on top of the fact that he was also like a crazy, like annoying, self-possessed dude. I think there was something like very like there was a touch of earnestness there. Just like I think there's a touch of earnestness with the costume, designer as well, that I think helps kind of carry these things and why it becomes such a complicated, emotionally fraught environment with because everybody cares, but they're all just so everybody's just so wound up. And,
everybody's got troubles.
Everybody has their troubles, but simultaneously they're trying to, make that connection or whatever. I think
Maggie's like this incredible center to it all.
Right.
Which, again, maybe it's just some of it is, Assayas looking at her in the particular way, but I listened to an interview with him and he was just saying like, she is cinema. Like he felt like it didn't matter as long as you just sort of watched her, and like something about like observing actors and catching their particular secrets or their particular ways. He seems
she conveys a lot.
Yes, she does.
And it's so well displayed in this film and in just these various conversations that she has. And I'm trying to remember where I like saw this when I was like doing my Googling or YouTube searching. But somebody, I think there's a video and I didn't click on it, but I just want to acknowledge that this isn't a unique thought per se, but it was like, Irma Vep, like a story about boundaries, or like an exploration of boundaries, like what that is. And like, I think Maggie Cheung just does such a great job navigating these conversations. And she also will like stand up for herself and like she disagrees with that, interviewer, like she stands by her opinion, and
he just doesn't hear her.
Yeah, exactly. But by the same token, it's like there's something very admirable. She's like stands her ground, and like at the towards the end of the film with Zoe trying to invite her into that club, and she's like, no, I don't want to do that. But like there was a very believable interaction where simultaneously Zoe's not gonna like force her in, but she really like obviously has a thing for her and like wants her to come and hang out. Yeah. Maggie at the same time is like, no, like, but does it in such a, 5 minutes turns into all night, I know. And Shen's always like, all right, this is one of those things you're gonna regret for the rest of your life. And she's like, yeah, maybe, oh well.
Which is such a contrast to like at the very beginning where like she was like, I was on the phone inside and I came out and everyone was gone. Like,
yeah, exactly. It's just like, what, like,
that feeling of not having a ride and just everyone leaving you at the studio. It's just like, oh my God. Like that felt so shitty and real.
Insane too at the same time, like that. Like when we talk about like the how far the lack of professionalism goes here, she's literally like the star of this feature, and she's just abandoned,
totally. And I mean,
stranded.
It's also worth mentioning that we saw her in Police Story. That was her really early film. But Maggie Cheung, both in the context of this movie and in real life, is like a massive movie star in China and Hong Kong. Movie star in a way that we don't have anymore. Like in the West, we've left that concept of. She is worshipped, and like, and was very a reluctant actress too. Like I think she was doing some modeling or something, and then kind of fell in with like action movies.
Just started happening, and
she retired too. I mean, she doesn't make films anymore, but she was
good for her.
Yeah, I know, good for her. But she was, making stuff with Wong Kar-wai. I mean, she's in The Mood for Love, right?
Right.
She's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, she's the coolest woman.
Yes.
She's just the coolest woman. And this movie, it's like you're so up. Even if you don't know that, there's something like that you're still inherently responding to. Like you know that. I don't sound so shitty, but like she's better than all these people. Like she's just better than all of them.
So true.
There was something about
like having that awareness too. Like if you're aware enough about film going into this to be able to even pick up on all of the nuance, like it is a bit of a filmmaker's film in that way.
It is.
Or a film lover's film.
One of
too.
the first things they say to her is like, "You're 3 days late." Like you were supposed to be here 3 days ago. It's just like, I'm sorry. The shooting just kept going. Like, yeah, we know.
Like, what were you supposed
now we have to move really fast. It's just like, goddamn, like those moments definitely felt like the critical, like, fuck this business,
right?
Like, and all the people in it. Well, not all of them, but most
the toxicity.
Yeah, exactly. And the director himself being toxic, screaming at people and like, it's crap. You don't know what you're doing. And just the fact that at one point he's like trying to make a very important point to like his AD or something, and then he takes a swig of Coca-Cola, like right out of this massive, the way that those big bottles you could only get in Europe, like, and it was just like, oh, he's trash. Like, like there was something about that placement that it really like signaled something to me.
Yeah, they really like. I like that this was shot, or the director took time with these characters to really get you to see the context of their behavior inside and outside of these lines, just so you could see them like immediately contradict themselves in some way, or just there was a lot of like that subtle humor.
No, it's great,
and moments just like that.
Yeah, it's very funny. I mean, it is very funny if you have your thinking cap on. It is a movie about making movies, which like might be a cool window for some people who don't, but it's also like I can say that it's sometimes painfully accurate. And this is still like France, which they have an 8-hour filming day, by the way. Everyone has dinner. They go to the movies afterward. Oh, crazy. This director, he was really, really interested in this being seen in participating in what he thought of as international cinema as opposed to French cinema. And I think that's like a really interesting way to think about your work.
It did have that international quality, especially like initially when the movie started, I couldn't toggle to add subtitles.
Same.
And so, it's because there's sort of this intentional like in and out of you're going to pick up what you pick up is kind of a little bit. I was like, maybe there's some intentionality to this, but also
and they're giving you some French subtitle, or
they do give subtitles when they talk in French, but it definitely added to that feel of this almost having a vibe a little bit like
no, I tried to do the same thing,
like Drive My Car. There is a bit of that international thing to it.
We've got like lots of different languages at play here. It's definitely intertextual. Like there's a lot of different experiences layered on top of each other. But,
right.
So this filmmaker, almost did it again, Olivier Assayas was born in 1955 in France, as you might have guessed.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. He is the son. His father was a director, so family business.
Yeah.
His father was Jacques Remy, but not Jacques Demy.
Oh, okay.
There's another one. Not the guy. And
oh my goodness.
Who was sort of a Turkish Jewish via Italy.
Yeah.
You know. And his mother, all I could find out was that she was a Protestant Hungarian. Presumably had no interests or passions of any kind.
Alrighty.
That's how we remember women before. I know, right? They didn't hold jobs. I know. Anyway, he actually, some of his first work was as a kid. He basically started ghostwriting for his father, who was writing like for TV.
Uh-oh.
It wasn't just because like, this will be fun. But dad was sick, and
so he was
holding down the family business.
Yeah,
you know?
Yes, he was filling in for Pops.
Just
like Mulan.
He could exactly like Mulan. That's it.
That's what he did.
That's how you should think of this.
Like he just...
and he grew up, in France. He cites the 1968 riots in May as being particularly formative.
Yeah.
Not just for him, but for the whole nation, as sort of being like, regardless of the party or the specifics, he was like, it was very much a revolt against totalitarianism of any kind. Mm-hmm. And that's a spirit that is still very much alive in France. Like the things that have gone on at like places I've worked. I had a French colleague and she was like, we would burn this place down if we did, like, you know what I mean? Like they just go right for it. We're not, we don't have that ballsiness, and I respect that about the French. Assayas also, as I mentioned, he wrote for Cahiers du Cinéma, which is sort of this foremost film criticism magazine journal that also Francois Truffaut and other new wave people wrote for before they made films. So it's kind of following in those footsteps. He describes himself as a cinephile. He's obviously interested in critical stuff, but he says when he comes to make a film, he tries to forget all of it and wants to try to... What can we, like, how would I invent it? Like, how would I do it? And I only bring that up because when I think about that end, the end of this movie, and we get what is a very interesting reinterpretation of a silent short film. You know what I mean? It actually does kind of meet the cause, or I don't know.
Yeah, no, it works. Like it's treated as its own like whole piece of art.
Yes. Yes.
And there's a bit of reverence at the end that's sort of like this sort of I don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, what seen out of context, it's like, what the fuck is this?
Right.
Because that's the thing. When I looked for trailers for this, it was just from that. It was just nothing but that.
They weren't showing you what the actual story of it is.
Yeah, it was like absolutely. I'm like, well, I guess I'm interested.
Yeah, this is like you don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
I certainly didn't know what to expect when this started. I was like, okay.
I read the log line.
Yeah,
and I knew all the posters showed Maggie Cheung in this cat suit, this black latex suit, which of course I want.
Yeah, I know, right?
Of course I want it.
She was into it,
Right.
I'd be into it.
She was clearly
I'd be super into it.
I mean, not everyone would be, but that's the thing that's funny, right? Is like at one point, the character blending with her and her blending with the character, there's a night where she puts on the costume and then goes and steals jewelry from another hotel,
which was such a cool sequence. And I actually really liked that. It's one of the big pluses of why I would say like, yeah, this is definitely a movie you should check out, is like it does sort of go from... And I guess you're right in comparing it to the Nowhere Inn in that sense, although the Nowhere Inn feels so much more like stylized. But there is that aspect of like, oh, there's these sort of very grounded, satirical, showbizy type scenes or interactions. And then there are these more, this type of sequence here that feels a little more almost fantastical.
Yeah.
In the way, like it very much slips into the genre of like what an actual modern interpretation of Irma Vep would be.
Yeah.
Like this is, it's almost like you're getting the movie in a movie, but it's embedded.
Yes.
In a way where it just rolls into this sequence.
Yeah.
And almost thought that's what the whole movie was going to be once that started going, which like also would have been a satisfying story in a different sense. The idea of her, like the majority, like we established the exposition that she's getting kind of undermined and whatever, and blah blah blah, and on the set, then she has this suit and then has this like, I don't know, wild night out in the suit or whatever. It makes me think if that's what the series is going to be leaning into more.
I wonder. I mean,
of it being more, because it seemed like, she's losing grip on reality. She's getting like Black Swanned out.
I was just
whatever.
thinking about Black Swan because there is an element to this that we didn't mention, which is that there is a stunt double who like is French, and there's this commonly, not everyone holds it, but a bunch of people on the set are kind of quietly wondering, like, why did they cast a Chinese actress to play this like French woman?
Yeah, race plays a really big role in this film, which so it adds that layer on a layer of like, she's not just like an American, like in this new interpretation is Alicia Vikander is she's coming in, she's an American actress in this French environment. And so so Maggie, so it's just like it adds a different, there's so much more being said on top of her being this American actress that they're almost having her again kind of play herself, but then she has a character. I don't know, did you watch the trailer at all for that? Because I had to,
because like I
had to just see like how they were going to do that.
I mean, you can tell me all about it. I have seen nothing. I just know that they're making this into a show. That's it. And so then I guess to that point, I would just say, like, I'm glad you let me know that, because then it also got me intrigued in trying to just see. I like seeing like different kind of adaptation comparisons like that. Oh no, it's like the whole reason.
And it's and it seems like this is going to be a big either a bigger swing or just a different direction. Maybe they are going to go more like surrealist with it.
Maybe.
But yeah, whereas this film feels much more that cinema verite, like this feels almost mockumentary, this thing, whereas the other new series coming out has more of that vibe that feels like it's going to slip into like an Aronofsky type of crazy.
It feels, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not saying it couldn't be done, but just in general, I'm a little, shocker. I'm just weary of how we're just mining the past for anything that might have worked. Like, and I'm not saying that this show or series couldn't be good, or that it's certainly going to raise the profile of this movie, and that doesn't hurt,
Yeah, you should definitely check out this film. If not, if for no other reason, then like I think it's a good it's a good thing to have in as context to watch this new thing, come to your own conclusions.
I mean, I was skeptical about Fargo. That turned out to be great.
Sometimes adaptations can really work. Like, I remember the Sabrina the Teenage Witch, really great TV show that only enhanced the films. It only improved on the film,
I guess
Clueless was actually a pretty good TV show after the movie.
Oh, no.
I think, stronger example, Sabrina. I'm just going to stick to Sabrina.
Okay. I don't know how strong an example that is.
I think it's a great... No, but I don't think... No. I wouldn't say that this Irma Vep film is going to be like the Sabrina movie. It's going to probably be... I meant, I was talking about Melissa Joan Hart, right?
Yes,
I'm not talking about the chilling...
I know.
The chilling adventures of...
Yeah, I know. We're not talking Kiernan Shipka. We're talking... I think that's her name.
Is that her name?
Or maybe it's
You could tell me any name and I believe you. I do not know her name.
It might be Kieran.
I just know she's the girl...
Sally Draper.
I just know she's Sally Draper.
She kind of has one setting. Sorry.
I've always been open to seeing more.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw that this was going to be a series, now that I've watched it, I'm not saying it couldn't be done. Like, it could be done, but I really hope that they're playing the way that these people played. That's all. Because I think
how grounded is it going to be, or how broad are these performances going to be?
It's like, is it going to be satirical? Because there were elements of this that reminded me of 10%, which Call My Agent.
They're going to have Carrie Brownstein in it. Oh. She's one of the actors, and there's like one or two other comedian types, but so I'm wondering if it's going to be that type of. Good. So it's. after all this Nowhere In referencing, there's literally Carrie Brownstein's going to play. That's just the weird thing is it's not like I can directly analogize who the characters are because they change names and then they are clearly changing what some of the roles are looking like.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I saw even who a literal costume designer. I don't even know if there's going to be like a costume designer character, or if it's just these. There's multiple assistants. There's multiple.
I mean, I think the successful adaptations seem to be the ones that understand the tone, and and understand the style, and try their best to create something in that world. Yeah. Like I mean, again, thinking about Fargo, even something like What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah.
I mean, kept completely true to the tone, but it
is its own thing.
It's its own thing,
for
and
sure.
It's adapted for an American audience, and by that I mean like it's set. They're making jokes constantly about Staten Island. I mean, it's just like it's localized just enough, for us. And I mean, there's lots of shows that have actually really done that, but I have a very I put up walls. I put up a lot of walls around adaptations and these things because in my head, the very cynical part of me is just like, somebody at HBO, they're in a meeting. It's like, you know what I watched the other night? Irma Vep,
Yeah.
What's that? Oh, that woman's wearing like the latex suit.
Right.
And they pull up a picture. Oh, that's hot. What's the story? And then
oh man.
Then it's like, maybe we can make that a show.
Yeah.
It's just like, fuck.
You have such a low opinion of executives.
I'm very upset. Yes. I think, you know what it is that I hear all the time about how insanely good the packets are of people who are writers' assistants,
right,
and people who are just trying to get staffed up. There is so much talent. It is absurd how much talent there is out there, and it's not being tapped into. Right. It's not just about me here,
because people would want to watch that stuff too. That's the thing, is like that. You need to. When the stuff that comes out that is really creative, like Everything Everywhere All at Once is the most easy recent thing that's happened. That's like, oh, this is like a really creative, out of left field type of film. Although, multiverse stuff had been, I guess, flirted with a little bit up to that point, but it's not like it was a film that a lot of people were doing like a ton of research on. No. Like it didn't get hyped up a bit. I remember seeing the trailer for it actually right before Spider-Man No Way Home. And I was telling my boyfriend, like, oh, that looks so cool and silly, or what. I don't remember. I didn't say it literally like that. I was just like, babe, I want to see that. And he was just like, I don't know.
I've been talking about that movie a lot in terms of like,
I threw him under the bus just now.
No.
Only because I could.
You can't.
No.
That's sweet.
No. No, he has very good he has better taste than me about a lot of things, but
there's no better and worse. I think there's just the palate
you got. You're right. There's chicken nuggets and quesadillas.
That's it.
Yeah. Sometimes he's a chicken nugget guy, but I'm a quesadilla girl.
I get it. So there was one review I found that wasn't super thrilled about this movie.
Okay.
And it was from the New York Times, Janet Maslin. She, I think, kind of found it difficult. She's like, Assayas creates a flimsier day for night around the woes that beset Irma Vep, a new auteur more self-important than Vidal, which she's talking about the filmmaker in the film.
Yeah.
That's kind of harsh.
That is, yeah.
And I'm wondering what she...
Well, she compared it to Day for Night, and then it's like, well, maybe that's just a different... Yeah, maybe that's not a fair comparison in a way.
That's kind of how I feel.
Maybe she was just put off by the cynical tone of it. Seems like
maybe.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I won't lie. Like I watched it like last night, and it was kind of like, of course I was stoned, and it got to the point where like one of those like where you're like, oh, I'm falling asleep in my chair, but I have to like stay focused. Yeah. So I mean, it's not fair. The movie didn't bore me to sleep. That's not what I'm saying. But
it is a kind of like, it can be slow at times. It
does enter this weird, like, I had to make sure that I was like, did I miss something? No. Yeah. Okay. No. We went right into this strange liminal ending, and then that was it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I kind of was like, again, kind of drifting in and out a little bit. And yeah, it is at times slow. It's a slow burn. I think Best Supporting Player goes to Natalie Richard.
Yeah, she was great.
Liked her.
Yeah, very earnest.
I agreed with her complaints. about like I liked her rant about American cinema, especially. I'm like that's the kind of thing I could see myself
very relatable. She played very like a convincing, like exasperated.
Yeah.
I say that word
and
wrong.
And wardrobe
a lot.
is difficult, and the whole thing where you're just being rushed to do your shit. Everyone's like, "Fuck you! I get whatever time I want."
Yeah.
Like don't rush me. I don't rush you. Anyway.
No, it's true. Yeah, like she's like, "Fuck you." When she charges at that other guy trying to rush her, just said, "Fuck you."
Yeah, I love.
She gets really intense.
Yeah, but I've been on sets like that,
Yeah,
like where it's
fuck you.
Yeah, you're tired. You're like,
it's very like that. Mind your own fuckhole.
Yes.
From my I Love You Man.
I don't think I've seen that actually.
So it's fine.
I missed that reference.
It's really fine. There's just a couple like dumb things they say that I think about a lot.
I get that.
Yeah.
Stuff gets stuck.
Like I really like, there's this sequence where they keep saying I love you to each other and calling each other different things. And like at one time, one of them says like, I love you, Tycho Brahe. And I was like, I understood that reference.
Tycho Brahe. Hell yeah. The unlucky Dane.
I loved it. I was like, Tycho Brahe. I was like, because they keep saying bro, buddy,
bro,
like all these things.
I get it.
And I thought that's a good fucking silly.
Well, like Tycho Brahe is one of those people that once you learn about, you never forget.
Right. And I like a good weird pun like that.
That's good.
It's good.
It
was really good. And then
it's like a Babraham Lincoln.
Babraham Lincoln's great. I also like there's one in Blades of Glory when it's like I think Will Ferrell says to John Heder, like they're charging at each other, calling each other stupid insults, and one of them like Cirque du Soleil. Like it's so stupid.
It's pretty. It's like just tame enough that like it's a joke that you could tell. Yeah. Like your nephew.
There's like that genre of comedy too, like Zoolander.
Absolutely.
Don't you derelict my balls?
Derelict my balls.
Derelict my balls.
Yeah.
It's great.
Everyone deserves to have their name riffed on a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
What were we talking about?
Oh, nothing.
Irma Vep?
Oh, nothing. Would you watch Irma Vep again?
It'd be okay. I wouldn't mind having it on in the background, I think, but like sitting down and watching it, there's some moments that are a little tedious. I don't mind it being kind of on in the background. There's good scenes, and
I think I need like some years to go by,
maybe,
and then like I feel like some years, and also it'd be like, oh, they're showing this at this theater, and I'd be like, yeah, maybe,
I could maybe.
But it wasn't a movie that filled me with the kind of joy of like, oh, like I think it's tough because these sort of movies are really good because they are thought provoking. They're subtle, they're interesting.
Sure, but it's a lot of like vibes. You're going in, you gotta settle into the vibes of this.
And that's like kind of why you have to find your directors for your moods. Yeah. We know that like Almodovar will make us laugh and cry and feel pretty well like taken care of, in terms of story, and people whose lives might be worse than ours or more dramatic.
It's very just the melodrama of what he has to provide.
I love a melodrama,
I think in the same way people watch like a Wes Anderson movie because it's visually like delightful, and like the deadpan humor is just for me it always hits. I love it. Yeah. I love when people say very silly things very seriously and very silly costumes.
I agree. That's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those movies that I feel kind of like glad I've seen.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that stamp is in my passport now. I'm like, I know about Irma Vep. I feel like I can talk. We can speak intelligently about it at parties now.
How to sound smart about Irma Vep.
Plus, I hope listeners.
You cannot escape.
She'll be fine. Yeah. I hope that listeners too can like. Glean a little bit about it before the series comes out, so you too can kind of like be very like, oh,
should be coming out pretty soon. Huh?
It's June 6th,
right? Okay,
and this episode will definitely air well before then. So they'll be well, not well before, but like 2 weeks,
a little bit before.
Okay, it means you got time to watch this movie, which is on HBO Max. It's on Criterion. It might be on a few other things.
If you want to be that elite person at the party,
I'm just saying. Did you read the book?
Yeah,
but it's that.
Well, did you see what movie it was based off of? Did you see the movie it was originally based off of?
That is what we're heading to.
You want to be that asshole?
By the way, that's what we're heading for.
Fucking go for it.
They're going to just keep doing like you remember that horrible box office bomb that Liz Taylor did, Cleopatra? Let's make that a series.
Yeah.
Like, now getting to the point where it's not, did you read the book or see the movie? It's, did you see the movie or the show that was, endlessly iterated on based on it?
Yeah, it's true.
Sorry.
No, they did do the Grey Gardens.
I mean,
show after the documentary. Although I thought it's stunning casting, and I did like some of the isolated scenes. Like they did great. It's Jessica Lange and Drew Barrymore. I was like that.
I mean, I know
well acted.
I know that Grey Gardens was also turned into a stage play, and it's like, yeah, I get it. It's like it's a drama about a mother and daughter. Conceivably, could be done all in one set. No, that makes sense. Like, I'm not, again, like adaptation can be beautiful. Like, I don't want to. And this is one of those things that like this film is in the process of going through an adaptation, and we don't know how that's going to come out. Like, we just don't know yet. And
what's the vibe gonna be? Is it gonna be vibey, or are they like juicing up? Yeah, the suspense of her mind snapping.
I don't know,
because they really do seem to lean into that being
the thing.
At least in the log line.
Okay.
That I was reading.
Yeah.
And it's certainly tonally in the trailer is giving a different vibe.
Yeah. I mean, remains to be seen.
Yeah.
Quite literally. So we'll see. I want to thank all of our listeners. Chelsea's not going to thank you, just me.
Yeah. Sorry, no, I had something in my throat.
No.
No, there was something in my throat, and I just coughed it out.
Mm-hmm. Well, she thanks you too.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. This is I feel like a parent trying to make you sign a thank you card for something you just don't give a shit about.
Yeah.
Which is not what's happening right now. You can follow this podcast on the various social medias at Fresh Movie Pod. We also love email. You can do that at abreathoffreshmovie@gmail.com. We can always use more reviews, likes, follows, all that shit podcasts ask you to do. Please do it for us. Really means a lot.
I mean, why not at this point?
I mean, really, if you've been here more than once.
Yeah. We need to start offering an incentive for it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I just think, it's like, when Del Taco gives you the receipt, they're like, hey, if you do this survey, you'll get a taco or something.
So you want to give tacos out?
Yes.
Okay. This offer comes off the table at exactly midnight tonight.
Oh my God. Hold for per tone.